And now your host, Noreen McClendon.
While I went in there, but I never really forgot what it was like out here. Even though things have changed a lot, but the social order of things are basically the same. But it's still uncomfortable for me, as it was before, to form relationships that are lasting. And part of that is because I didn't know how to maintain, like you were saying, maintain my relationships with people. And so I'm kind of learning from that. And because I'm a different person now, sober and just more educated and more experienced in worldly ways, I just, it seems like it would be easier to form these relationships, which are kind of happening, through I work for a nonprofit. So through some of those relationships, I'm building up and feeling more confident in that type of world. But it's still uncomfortable thinking of how much my life depends on relationships uh, in general. So, you know,
Well, I
it's
want to
it's
encourage you with something. No, I want to encourage you in this way. Even the construction companies you work for, they had it was corporate. There were corporate ownership at some level. You know what I'm saying?
right, right, right.
Um, and it's just at the very grassroots, rubber meets the road kind of nonprofit work is where you find these challenges that we were discussing.
Yeah.
But there's some element of corporate structure in all things. So I don't want you to think it's so esoteric that you could not do that. I just don't want you to walk away from this conversation thinking that. I
Oh,
feel
okay. Yeah.
like well, first of all, let me say this: you survived a structure that at times could be so unfair, so changing, so many things, um, that you can navigate it. The thing about maintaining relationships is that you realize that you need to. Now, in an employment situation, there's one surefire guaranteed way that you're going to maintain that relationship. Go in, be on time, be consistent, do your job, get your check, and go home.
Hmm.
That's it.
Yeah. That's what happens right now.
If you go to a job and do your job, no more, no less, your bosses, the corporate structure will be absolutely perfectly happy with you.
Yeah.
Because I find I have staff, they want to say, but I do this extra. I just need you to do what I pay you for. Forget the extra stuff. That's nice. But can you do what I'm paying you for? Because
Hmm.
that's what I need. Right. That's because the parts that they don't want to do. They don't want to do the parts that they don't want to. People go into employment and they want to do the parts of their job that they're interested in. But you take the paycheck for all of it.
Right.
So again, remember, this is all about relationship, but an employment relationship is this. The employee provides a service and the employer provides a fee. That's it. I have people, particularly in our community, and it's everywhere, it's not just here, but because I've been working here so long, that think that your personal life, your employer should somehow be concerned about what's going on in your personal life. And, my child is sick and employers, the job has to be done. The only way they stay in business is whatever service or product they produce or provide is available, based on how they have their employees working. So it doesn't matter for them. I had a lady, I got her a job at a grocery store, and she said, "Well, my daughter's sick with sickle cell, and so sometimes, I've taken off days. Well, how many days have you taken off? 12 in 9 months." Okay, I said that's double what I allow my employees in sick time in a year. So I want you to realize that no matter where you go, that would be a problem for anybody. And so what you need to do is work on solving the problem, which is you don't have reliable health care, child care for when your daughter gets sick with sickle cell and has
Hmm.
to go to the hospital. She said, well, I don't even take off the whole day all the time. Sometimes I just have to leave. I said, that's even worse. Because at a grocery store, who's going to get somebody to come in and work a part of a shift?
In 15, in 20
Right.
minutes, you got to go.
Yeah, you got to leave in 20 minutes and you only been here 3 hours. Who's going to work a 4-hour shift?
You have to give the person an hour.
Right. So, no, it's worse that you're not taking off the whole day. They probably be better for them if you did. You see what I'm saying? I can get the shift covered, but I can't do that in the middle of a shift. So again, that's the one way, the easiest relationship in the world is the employment one. The employment relationship is the easiest in the world. Why? Because it's very clearly
Right.
laid out what it is.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that you don't run into politics and personalities and all that, but I can guarantee you, if you're doing your job, the personalities become less of an issue.
Yeah.
Become less of an issue because the work is done. I have employees and have had some over the years that I did not like their personalities, but their work was good. And guess what? I kept them.
Hmm.
Ultimately, as the head of the company, the most important thing is that the work of the company be covered. So I can, even if I don't like their personality, but I like their work, I'm going to keep them. Because for me, it's not about personality, it's about getting the work done. So
Yeah.
relationship is easy.
I want to touch on one more thing and that's you talked about everyone does things to meet basic needs or satisfy needs. Well, in prison, there's most needs are not being met, or at least satisfactorily. Uh, and the most glaring need that's not met is the emotional part, and you don't even know it's happening until it's kind of too late, or it's later on down the road, and you've already suffered, trauma from it. And
Yeah.
so no matter what you do in there, you call, you make calls, you write letters. It's just not the same. It's not connectability. It's not You're not properly having intimate relationships with your family or anyone really. So like,
And it's crazy too because the system is kind of designed to make sure that that doesn't happen.
yeah,
Sadly, sadly,
yeah, exactly.
they're designed so that you can't maintain those relationships. Part of that, they don't want you to have it because they know that the more they've done studies and they already know that the more communication an inmate has with their family consistently while they're incarcerated, the less chances they have of recidivism. That
Mm,
they won't recidivate if they have, while they're incarcerated, a good relationship with their family.
mm,
So if we make that hard, especially at a time when their whole goal was just keeping those prisons full. That was it. Especially in California, before they said, "Oh no, the consent decree, like you got to let some of the people out of there. This is inhumane and that kind of thing." Prior to that, it was all about money, and that was
yeah,
it. Not that it's not still, but just to say that's what it is. So, um, I appreciate you. I appreciate you bringing those things up and
yeah.
being. And let's see, Mr. Parker. You didn't bring that chicken. Uh-oh. The chicken salad.
Quiet on the set. Oh my God. Yeah, really in-depth conversations. Miss Tony's always got something really profound to
I know,
say.
huh?
And I learned from you guys when you're talking. And when we talked about meeting those basic needs, I know those needs to be common life goals because they're goals that we all have in common. Living, surviving, knowledge, learning and knowing, being a part of a group, relationships, happiness, creativity, spirituality. We all have those things in common. And when you talked about the person who went out and robbed a bank to take care of their kid. So that's like a coping mechanism. So they met that goal, right? They robbed the bank, they met the goal, but they met it in a maladaptive and antisocial way.
Yes.
So we're trying to tap into the pro-social ways of doing things and like you said, a lot of people perceive formerly incarcerated to just be dumb, right?
Furthest thing
No,
from the truth.
no, and we get even better skills sometimes when we're incarcerated because we have to survive. And yeah, you guys are right in saying that emotional meeting that emotional goal is almost impossible when you're incarcerated because you're right, they don't want you to. But what happens is that comes out somewhere else. it comes out in violence.
Yes.
Um, you know what I'm saying? In a lot of different ways. And then, so that's that. And then because I also worked for a couple of nonprofit organizations back in the day. I did some help on grant proposal writing. And in comparison to the corporate world, yeah, it could be very black and white. If you know what your responsibilities are and you go in there and you do your job and you show up on time, like you said, show up, do your job, get your pay and get going. But you're always gonna have some kind of either politics going on with
Yeah.
your coworkers, somebody gonna try to drag you into whatever
Yeah.
they got going on. But that happens corporate and nonprofit because they're both
Everywhere. Because it's people.
structures.
Because people
Yeah,
are employed there, right? We
yeah,
employ
people,
humans,
exactly.
right? We employ
Yeah.
humans. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't write people out of those situations. So, um, yeah, so that's why I enjoyed these conversations. I enjoy these groups all the time, but these conversations in particular because I have vested energy in them. I have experience in maybe not so much as corporate. I once worked for Glendale Memorial Health Foundation,
Oh, that's
the
as corporate as it's
fundraising
gonna
part,
get. That's
right?
corporate as it's gonna get, baby.
And it was. I mean, it was so political that the woman who I was under, her husband was doing some work at home, and he had comments about my work, and I never met this guy, and I'm like, you know what? I don't like this place. It's a nonprofit. And I love nonprofits, and I love what they're doing. They're raising funds for the hospital, so they're doing meaningful work. But I don't, nepotism is cool. You can have your family working with you and all of that. But when it gets personal and political like that, I got up out of it. I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Nope. And the nonprofit that I had come from, I didn't have to wear a tie. And there I had to go with the chinos on and the loafers and the tie. And not that I'm not that's
Yeah,
above or beneath me,
but
but if
was
I
it
could just
relevant
show
to the
up,
work? You know what I'm saying? Was it
yeah,
relevant to the work? A lot of times, a lot of that stuff is put in place to make it appear to be something that is actually
yeah,
not. You
and
know,
that's what it
like,
was.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And they want you to portray an image that they're not living up to. They
yeah,
haven't produced that kind of environment, but
they
they
sure
want you
didn't.
to get the impression
Hmm.
that
And I
that's what they're
felt
doing.
very oppressed. I was just unhappy.
Yeah,
And it was good money, but
yeah.
I had to walk away from it. I had to go,
In Domino's, they say
uh,
all money ain't good money.
yeah,
And if
for
that
real.
money making you unhappy and to go get it, it's time to go somewhere else. And I don't care who it is, I don't care how much
Yeah.
money it is, when the employment circumstance in relationship is sour. And my first job actually my second job, was the first job I worked in the courts, in the bankruptcy court for a judge. But I went to my first job after that, worked for a law firm, and this lady, everything was fine with her until her boss called us in and said, I want Noreen to learn as much of your job as possible because I want to move you up and elevate you to do some other things. Well, she didn't hear the last part of that. All she heard was the first part.
Hmm.
Began to attack me. She would one day she just came in, walked in, and just came over and took all her work off my desk. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was like 19. I didn't
Hmm.
know what to do, and I had never been treated like that on a job before. But what would happen is every time she would come through the door, my stomach would get in butterflies.
Hmm.
And I'd be nervous and anxious. And after that, I left that job and I didn't want to quit because I just had my son and I'm young. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, when I left though, I doubled my salary in one move.
That's right.
And from that day forward, I've never stayed on a job that I was unhappy, including working for my mama. Because I quit her
Peace of
ass
mind is so important.
way more than anything else, way more than
Yeah.
anything else. And when I was working for my mom and I needed a raise, and she told me to go out there and raise the money, and I did, and then she still didn't give me a raise. She did that to me twice, and I gave her my notice. I said, I'm out of here. You take care. What I didn't know was that she was suffering from cancer at the time. And
Oh,
she
sorry
was
to hear that.
probably within maybe 2 to 3 years of her dying.
Right.
So she didn't have the capacity to hit the streets because she used to go raise a lot of money. That was her
Hmm.
job as executive director. but
Right.
she didn't have the physical ability to do it anymore. I didn't know that that's what it was because she didn't tell us. And if she had said something, I would have tried to raise more than just the money for my salary. I would have put something extra on the grant, you know, whatever. But she didn't tell me that. She's gonna tell me, "Oh no, I still can't give you no raise." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And she did it to me twice. I was like, "Okay, well, I'm out of here." Because guess what? You're the one who taught me never let anybody take advantage of you. Never.
That's right.
And so that's what I had to walk away from her too. And I just don't believe that people should stay in circumstances that make them miserable, particularly when it comes to employment. Not
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
I see
And
it.
it's crazy because right now, like I need work right now, right? And it's you know, when you don't have a job and you're looking for a job, all this stuff goes to your mind. It's like, okay, what am I willing to sacrifice? You know, am I willing to sacrifice just everything because I need a job and I got to pay my bills and da da da. But at the end of the day, I start thinking, okay, I'm glad I didn't follow up on that because that's just not me, and I won't be doing them any good if I accept that position that I'm not comfortable in. I'll be showing up late. I'll be unhappy. I'll be doing a piss poor job. And so, yeah, you know, we do have to kind
You
of
know,
be.
what you said just reminded me of something that I write about in the 5 steps to personal peace, and in terms of knowing yourself.
Hmm.
Whatever that position was, you knew yourself, you know yourself well enough to know that that wasn't going to work for you. You would not be happy. You was going to show up late. All of those things. Some people would take that job anyway
Right.
and make a mess out of it.
Yeah.
And now you got a termination in your record,
Yeah. And
right?
you
As
might need them
opposed to
for
just,
a referral.
and
Oh,
you
bad.
can't get one. Now you
Yeah.
can't get one. Now you can't. You don't even half-ass want to put that on your resume
Yeah.
because you it ended badly,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for knowing who you are. You
Yeah.
know, my
And that
son.
goes to relationship. You know, you gotta be in a good relationship, even if it don't work out. If you think, you know, okay, I need to do this, and it don't work out, you still need to leave on good terms. Be transparent with whoever that person is, and be
Yeah,
like, look, I don't want to screw. I don't want to make your company look shitty, so I'm gonna just step back, and they'll respect you more.
yeah.
So when I was coming down here from the school, what you say about the school?
Fuck them people.
See?
Well, I only said that because let me just tell you this: I didn't have no relationship with them people. She had a relationship with them people. Don't look over there.
But you just
I
said
want them to see. Listen, listen, and listen. I didn't tell her. I didn't tell her that she had to leave the people early. What happened? Tell the truth.
Okay, they did piss me off.
And then what happened? Okay, because initially you was gonna do what? You was gonna give
2 weeks.
Okay. See. So don't try to put her. You see how she shifted that shit to me. All of a sudden it was me. Now listen, I told her. Listen,
You guys need a
no,
podcast.
no, and no. Let me just tell you
Two of
this.
you.
Okay,
That'd be a
everybody
good
gotta tell y'all the
podcast.
truth.
Frank,
Frank,
you at that
let me
job
tell you,
today?
Frank, what happened? Let me tell you what had happened, Frank. Okay, she was out there with them people in Lancaster, and the people at the job, and I didn't like them because when she started working for them, she couldn't come to Free to Heal on Tuesday. So my position was fuck them people.
Okay.
I said that then. I meant it. I meant it today. And when she decided, I called her back because she said she had to give him 2 weeks notice, and I said, okay. Then she called back talking about I ain't giving them 2 weeks notice, and I said, okay. Because I'll see you on Monday.
Yeah.
I'll see you on Monday.
Yeah.
Because I needed her.
Sometimes it go that way. Sometimes
But
there's
don't
no
be
way
acting
of
like
avoiding it.
listen,
You know?
and guess what? And let me tell you something. If she wanted to go back to the people right now, they would take her back.
Yeah.
Trust me,
Right.
they would.
That's right.
I'm telling you. So the bottom line is, yes, you go out and if nothing else, you do it with dignity and respect, and you treat them with the respect of being for the fact that they hired you in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? Just the fact that they did. Don't just walk off and you don't give them no notice, you don't do nothing. That is burning a bridge.
Yeah.
And that is the exact opposite of maintaining a relationship.
Showing yourself
because you never know when you got to go back that way again.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know.
Yeah. You never know. Yeah, you never know.
So
I mean, sometimes it can't be avoided. You know, we are who we are. You step on my foot, I'm gonna say, ow.
like the day that listen, the last law firm I worked for fired me because a blonde hair, blue eyed process server hit me and I hit that heifer back. Well, on any given day, I would do the same thing. It's not gonna change. I have a line.
Yeah, we all got boundaries.
And I don't care where we at, who you are, what you do. You cannot put your hands on me. Say what you want. Do not touch me.
Yeah.
When you touch me, I touch you back. So they mind you, they waited over a year or so. I wound up before they actually fired me. So, but I know now when I look back on it that it was divine order, because I would not be doing what I'm doing now. I was making too much money doing too little work with too great benefits for me to have left them people. I would have never went nowhere, because the benefits just kept increasing. But I wasn't, the talent that I have would never have come to light working for them. It just wouldn't have, because it was a waste. I was typing, and I used to type fast. You know what I'm saying? She says my poor keyboard gets beat up. Gets beat up, but that's okay. So anyway, but yeah, I would never. I know now that I needed to leave there because there was something else that Yahweh had for me to do.
Yeah, it was stunting your growth.
It really was, and there, I wouldn't know half of the things I know. I wouldn't have known anything about construction, which is a passion of mine. I also would not. My son wouldn't have been allowed to be a professional actor, because I couldn't have taken off that job like that, to run him around in auditions. My mom allowed me to go ahead and take him, but you gotta get that work done.
That's right.
He didn't care. He gave me flexibility, but I need my work done. Okay, that's what you better have done. So,
right.
And I didn't mind that. It's just that, I wouldn't have had the flexibility to do that. So one thing leading to another. And it always works out the way that it should. But I really thank you and appreciate you. And I'm glad that you enjoy our sessions too.
Oh, same here.
It was
Black Eyed Peas and
glad
Rice
you get
tonight.
to see your mom though.
That is just such a blessing. I thank God all morning, all day, and all throughout the night. He's gonna always make it work.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so we have a gentleman, Mr. Bronson. Hello.
His camera was real active a little while ago.
It was, and I don't know if Mr. Bronson is here or not. I would have loved to have check in with Mr. Bronson, but in any event, Mr. Bird, we want to check out. You straight?
Yeah, I did think. I did realize that it is happening in everybody's world. Everything is talking about it. I'm like,
can't nobody hear you?
They can't hear you.
No, Tony, I was telling her how I was listening, and I'm like, do she work with me?
Because the principle will always be the same. That's the thing. The principle will be the same. The company, whatever, all that may change, but the principle is going to be the same.
I understand that other part. You were talking about how sometimes perception. I always think somebody coming for me. I work with Tony and Cheryl on this all the time. Like I have to. I respond. It's always one time Tony had to just change my whole thought process because I read it and then I was like, and she was like, you about to change that.
Okay.
Yeah, because you lead with your trauma. I've had the ability to deal with leading with my trauma. So I might think it, but I stop and read, and it gives me the ability to put the trauma behind me. And that's how I compartmentalize and not lead with my trauma. Whereas Roberta tends to lead with her trauma when she gets into a defensive mode. And it's practice. That's explain to her.
It probably started as a self-defense mechanism. It probably just started out of a necessity. Yeah.
Right. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I've had a different set of rules. We've had a lot of conversation about corporate America, but let me tell you, corporate America is just as much a microcosm of America as a prison is.
Yes, it is.
But the behaviors, the things that happen still happen in corporate America. There's no perfection out there in corporate America. I see it differently in the nonprofit space because I spent 33 years in corporate America, and I was there when I was really young, but it's still a microcosm of America, and they get down and get ignorant and get dirty just like they do in the nonprofit sector. Because, you know, working in HR and working in the back door of HR, oh, I done seen it all. I done seen it from thievery to murder. So
and listen, and let me tell you
like,
something.
it's like the rest of America.
And let me tell you something. The other thing, that just because companies have money does not mean that they're efficient.
No.
One of the things I found is that a lot of times it tends to be the companies that have the most money actually function the least efficiently. And the reason they're least efficient is because they get to paper over what I mean, pay over. Like I'm a pay to correct the mistake. I got more staff. I got more money. I can go, like in construction, I can pay for a change order. I'm gonna pay for the change order.
Layers. Yes.
Layers of money and things like that they can just cover
manipulate.
up. Yes. Like for me, when I was all the building that I've done has been for the nonprofit. All of them have been for the nonprofit. Well, what that meant is that our money came from public sources, private sources, but bottom line is we had a finite amount of money. So that meant that when construction came, I had to make sure that the estimates were realistic. I had to make sure, I had to watch every single dime to make sure that they were not charging for things they shouldn't. I couldn't issue change orders just because somebody, whatever, all of those things, because I didn't have a deep pocket. I only had the money that was allocated for the project. Where large developers, I've worked with them. In fact, on the shopping center, my partner on the front end was a real estate REIT. And they're like an investment company. But basically, they built grocery store anchor shopping centers, huge, publicly traded, as a matter of fact, now. But they got to make mistakes that I could never make because they had the money to cover over or to paper over the mistake. It didn't mean they were more efficient. It didn't mean that they knew more than me. It didn't mean that they were better at the job than I was. That's not what it meant. It just meant that they had the ability to cover it up where the nonprofit doesn't have that ability to do that. So I hope that the information is not too far-fetched, and that you guys got something out of the conversation tonight, because it does matter how effective we are in the things that we're doing. It matters how effective we are just in operating our day-to-day life. We're going to see it. Everything in our lives is an expression of what we have, the choices that we made, and how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive the world. So when you think about it that way, think about when you wake up every day, how are you perceiving the world? How are you showing up in the world? What are you showing them about you? And is that what you want so that you can become effective? But remember, you got to be what you want to see. So I hope that everybody got a lot out of tonight's session, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week on another session of Freed to Heal. We're on YouTube, Facebook, all the social media sites. We're not on TikTok because they don't exist no more, but that's another whole story. Okay, but anywho, okay, so anywho, I love you guys. Mean it.
Bye, Tony.
See y'all next week. Tell Miss Tony I'm ready to see you. I just want you to know, but I need to talk to you tonight.